In a world that's, constantly telling you who you should be, what you should chase, have you ever just stopped? Stopped and really asked yourself, who am I? Like, really? And how should I actually live?
It's such a fundamental question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we rarely give it the space it deserves.
Exactly. We get pulled in so many directions, defined by jobs, roles, expectations. Sometimes that inner compass just feels a bit lost.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah. So today we're doing a deep dive. We're pulling together insights from a really interesting collection of wisdom. Think ancient philosophy, modern psychology, spiritual traditions.
A real tapestry, like you said.
It is. And these aren't just random quotes. They're powerful nuggets picked for a reason. We've gone through them trying to see how they connect, what they really offer you.
Right. Not just a summary.
Not at all. Our mission today is to see if these pieces can form kind of a coherent framework, like an architectural blueprint for figuring out identity, character, purpose.
A shortcut, maybe, to being well-informed on living authentically?
That's the idea. A shortcut to building an authentic life when the world wants you to just perform. And we're looking for practical stuff here.
Good. Theory's one thing, living it is another.
Okay, so let's start with this spark from Ryan Holiday. He says something seemingly simple. Set a standard. Hold fast to it. That's all there is.
That's easy, doesn't it?
Almost too easy. Just decide. Stick to it. Done.
But that's where the real complexity kicks in, right? Because you immediately have to ask, okay, what are these standards? How do I figure out what's genuinely worth holding on to? Especially when everything's changing.
Good point. It can't just be about rules or trends.
Exactly. It has to be deeper, more fundamental, and it touches the core of who you are.
Yeah.
And if we don't get a handle on that core self, how can we set a standard that's truly authentic, enduring?
Right. It would just be arbitrary otherwise.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So that's the real journey here, understanding the foundation first.
Okay, foundation it is. Let's talk identity. So many of us, myself included sometimes, define ourselves by externals. Our job title, our relationships, what we own.
The roles we play, CEO, parent, partner.
Yeah, and those roles matter, of course they do. But what if they were gone? Job disappears, relationship ends, health falters? What's left?
It's a confronting thought.
It is. But maybe necessary if we want authenticity. And our sources really push us here, especially looking at Leo Tolstoy. He went through this methodical process.
He didn't just theorize, did he?
No, he systematically asked, what am I? Who am I? And then started stripping things away, like my legs are not me, my arms are not me, even my feelings are not me, my thought is not me.
Wow. That's intense.
It is. Imagine an archaeologist carefully brushing away layers of dirt, right? Each layer is something temporary, an achievement, a fear, a fleeting thought.
So it's not just thinking about it, it's experiencing that stripping away.
Exactly. An experiential exploration to find what's permanent underneath all this stuff that changes, getting to the essence.
And what did he find? What's left after all that?
Yeah. He calls it the unchanging essence, the soul. And here's the really interesting part. He says, I know God and soul not by their definition, but in another way entirely. And listen to this. Striving to define God destroys this knowledge in me.
Wow. Okay, that's powerful. The idea that trying to define it, to put it in a box, actually crews the knowing of it.
Yeah.
It's like trying to explain joy by listing chemicals. You lose the actual feeling.
Right.
So he's pointing to a kind of direct inner knowledge, something you feel or experience rather than just rationally understand through definitions.
That's how I read it. It's known, not just understood intellectually.
Which connects beautifully to that observation from Mazzini in the sources. God exists.
Yeah.
We should not prove this. To deny God is madness.
Right, I saw that connection too.
Mazzini isn't just making a religious statement there, is he? He's saying it's foundational. Maybe denying that core connection that Tolstoy found is like denying a fundamental part of being human.
Leading to, maybe a kind of inner chaos or meaninglessness, like the madness he mentions.
Could be. It points to the psychological cost of cutting ourselves off from that deeper reality, that innate sense of connection or meaning we all seem to have.
So why does this matter for you, listening right now?
Well, because if you connect with this constant element, this soul, you find something that, as the source says, cannot be destroyed by external circumstances. Think about that.
Yeah, that's huge. Job, relationships, health, they can all change drastically.
Devastatingly, sometimes.
Yeah.
But this core, this essential self, it remains. It's the ultimate anchor in a chaotic world, the permanent thing when everything else is temporary.
That's the bedrock for authentic living then, that inner stability.
Absolutely. It's the foundation. Without it, you're just reacting to the waves. With it, you are the anchor.
Okay, so if identity, that core self, is the foundation, then character is how that foundation shows up, how it expresses itself consistently in your daily life.
Right, it's the architecture built on that foundation. Who you are in action.
And the sources give us this really sharp test for character. It says, 2 things define you: your patience when you have nothing, and your attitude when you have everything.
That gets right through, doesn't it? No room for hiding.
None. Let's break it down. Patience when you have nothing. Okay, imagine things get stripped away. Job loss, financial stress, relationship ending, health crisis.
When your usual supports are gone.
Exactly. How do you react then? Do you keep your dignity, your kindness, or do you become bitter, resentful, grasping?
Does that core stability hold, even when the external world is shaking?
That's the question. And the flip side, your attitude when you have everything: success, power, wealth, abundance.
Does it corrupt you, make you arrogant, dismissive?
Or does it let your best self flourish? Generosity, humility, does it amplify the good or the ego?
It's a powerful diagnostic. These extreme conditions are revealing precisely because they strip away the middle ground.
The social scripts.
Yeah, the expectations, the habits. When you're at those extremes, you're forced to operate from your deepest self. Or maybe reveal where that self isn't fully formed yet. The masks come off.
It shows what you're really made of.
And this forging of character, it links so well to Marcus Aurelius, his whole thing about the present moment.
Objective judgment now. Unselfish action now. Willing acceptance now of all external events. That's all you need. The repetition of now.
It's relentless, isn't it? Character isn't built in one big heroic moment. It's forged in countless tiny choices. Every single moment.
How you handle traffic, an annoying email, a small frustration.
Each one is a chance to act from that core self, or from fear or ego or social pressure. It's a continuous practice.
So for you listening, this means character isn't just for crises, it's built now. Every small choice matters. Every interaction is a brick in that architecture.
It's incredibly empowering when you think about it that way. You're always building.
And speaking of architecture, the 10 Commandments show up in our sources. Now, regardless of your religious background,
you can see them functionally.
Exactly. Think of them as guardrails. They help keep us from acting against our essential nature, protecting our integrity.
Interesting way to frame it.
Look at the first 4 about our relationship with, let's say, ultimate reality. No other gods, no graven images. Their job seems to be ensuring we don't mistake temporary things for permanent ones.
Connecting back to Tolstoy.
Yeah.
Don't worship money, fame, ego, the fleeting stuff.
Right, because when you idolize the temporary, you lose touch with that unchanging core, which seeks what's real.
It keeps you grounded internally. Makes sense.
And the other 6, about relating to others. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, honor parents, don't covet.
They provide a structure for living that essential nature out in the world with other people.
A framework for justice, truth, respect.
And their power lies in their universality, doesn't it? Even outside religion. Take thou shalt not kill. It's not just a law. Acting with murderous intent violates something deep within our own nature, right? That inherent sense of the sacredness of life.
Or, thou shalt not bear false witness, lying constantly.
It breaks your own authenticity, creates a gap between your inner self and outer actions. It erodes trust within and without.
And coveting, wanting what others have.
It's about inner peace, isn't it?
Yeah.
Coveting keeps you dissatisfied, comparing, jealous. It undermines finding joy on your own authentic path. These guardrails help manage those impulses so our true self can emerge more clearly.
Protecting our inner peace in our relationships.
Exactly. Allowing that authentic self to express itself cleanly without being distorted by those lower drives.
So understanding yourself, building character, this naturally leads outward, doesn't it? To how we interact, how we lead.
The ripple effect. From internal architecture to external impact.
And Simon Sinek's insight fits perfectly here. The leaders who get the most out of their people are the leaders who care most about their people.
Okay, but let's view that through this essential identity lens.
Right. True leadership isn't manipulation. It's not just getting results. It's extending that understanding of your own core self to others.
Seeing them as whole people, not just resources.
Yes. Seeing their inherent worth.
And that's the practical genius of it. If you've done that inner work, like Tolstoy's inquiry, if you found something deeper in yourself than just ego, you naturally start seeing that potential in others too.
You see beyond their job description.
Right. You see their capabilities, their struggles, their aspirations, not just their performance metrics. And that builds incredible trust, loyalty, engagement, because people feel genuinely seen.
You feel safe to be their whole selves.
Exactly, which unlocks so much potential.
And this kind of authentic leadership, it seems to require something else mentioned in the sources. Bonnie Friedman's unhurried sense of time.
Ah, yes, an unhurried sense of time is in itself a form of wealth.
It connects right back to that essential identity.
Yeah.
If you're not driven by anxiety or chasing external validation, your relationship with time changes.
You're not a slave to the urgent. You can focus on the important.
Right. And that patience lets you invest in people's long-term growth, not just immediate output.
You understand that real development takes time, that innovation needs space, that mistakes are part of learning.
You foster learning, resilience, knowing the best results aren't always the fastest. It allows for intentionality.
And let's contrast that. Think about leaders who haven't done this inner work.
What do?
They often project their own insecurity. They might micromanage out of fear, demand loyalty they don't give, expect people to find meaning in tasks they themselves find empty.
Creates a toxic cycle, right? Inauthenticity breeds inauthenticity.
Totally. Burnout, distrust.
Yeah.
It stifles everything. But that leader, operating from an authentic, unhurried place, they can truly inspire.
So whether you lead a team, a family, or just yourself.
This idea of caring deeply and having that unhurried sense of time, it fundamentally changes how you approach responsibility and influence. It's transformative.
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit. This next part is, well, it's fascinating and maybe a little counterintuitive, how authenticity plays out in social dynamics, especially desire.
The Robert Greene territory. This can feel tricky.
It can. The source quotes Serge Moscovici. Most of the time, we prefer one thing to another because our friends already prefer it, or because that object has marked social significance.
Social proof. We look to others.
And then, when we say of a man or woman that he or she is desirable, what we really mean is that others desire them.
Okay, yeah. On the surface, that sounds cynical. Like we should just focus on seeming popular. Does it contradict being authentic?
That's the question. Should we be inauthentic to be desired?
I think there's a deeper truth here. Yes, we are social creatures. Social proof matters. But, and this is crucial, genuine desirability often comes from the very authenticity we're talking about.
Not from faking it.
No. It's not about manipulation. It's about expressing something real, something compelling from your core. It's the difference between seeming desirable and being desirable.
Okay, explain that more. The source mentions creating an aura of desirability, of being wanted and courted by many. How is that authentic?
When that aura comes from authenticity, it's not pretense. Think about someone who's done the inner work, who knows their essential self. Are they desperately seeking approval?
No, probably not. They're comfortable in their own skin.
Exactly. They have boundaries, they know their worth, and importantly, they're genuinely interested in others, not just using them for validation.
Self-possession, genuine comfort, curiosity.
Those qualities create a natural magnetism. People are drawn to authenticity because it's rare and refreshing in a world full of performance. You don't have to try to be desirable when you're just being authentically you.
So it's a byproduct, not the goal.
Precisely. And that connects to Greene's idea about triangles, stimulating rivalry and raising value, and building a reputation. If many have succumbed, there must be a reason.
Again, sounds manipulative, maybe.
But what if we read it differently? These triangles don't create worth artificially. They reveal worth that's already there. If multiple people genuinely recognize someone's value, their skill, kindness, insight, whatever it usually means, there is something genuinely valuable there. An authentic person isn't engineering rivalries. They're just living their life, pursuing passions, connecting deeply.
And that naturally attracts interest from different people.
Yes. The triangle is a natural consequence of their genuine magnetism. It highlights their worth without them needing to scheme. The reason others were drawn in isn't a trick. It's usually that inherent self-possession and authenticity.
Okay, so the takeaway isn't play games.
Absolutely not. The takeaway for you is focus on becoming genuinely interesting and valuable from the inside out. Develop real skills. Cultivate real relationships. Pursue meaningful work.
And the aura follows naturally.
Exactly. Substance over style. Being, not seeming.
That leads us back nicely to the role of time and patience in all this. It's not instant.
It's an unhurried path, a process.
Let's revisit Bonnie Friedman. An unhurried sense of time is in itself a form of wealth. We linked it to leadership, but it also connects to character. That patience when you have nothing.
When you're rooted in your core identity, You're not so anxious about proving yourself right now. Your self-worth isn't tied to the next deadline or outcome.
It changes your whole relationship with time. You're not reacting constantly.
It's the difference between reactive living, always putting out fires, chasing the next thing, responding to external pressures, and responsive living.
Meaning?
Acting deliberately, thoughtfully, for your deepest understanding, aligned with your core. That unhurried sense allows for the deep reflection Tolstoy did, for the steady standard setting Holiday mentioned.
It creates space for actual growth, not just frantic activity.
You can see things clearly. You can connect dots others miss.
And this long view, it changes how we see opportunities and mistakes too, right? Sun Tzu. Opportunities multiply as they are seized.
Yeah, if you're not paralyzed by fear of failure or desperate for quick wins because your ego needs it, you can actually spot and act on real opportunities more effectively.
Your vision isn't clouded by anxiety.
You can play offense, strategically, not just defense.
And George Bernard Shaw. Success does not consist in never making mistakes, but in never making one a second time.
That hits differently when you're operating from your core self, doesn't it?
How so?
Mistakes aren't existential threats anymore. They're data, learning opportunities.
Yeah.
Your core self isn't dependent on being perfect.
So you can admit errors without your identity crumbling?
Yes. Learn, adapt, grow, without the ego getting defensive. It's incredible freedom.
For you, the listener, this means resilience. Freedom from perfectionism. You can iterate, learn, evolve on your path.
Time becomes your ally in growth, not an enemy ticking down. It's a shift from a fixed to a growth mindset, deeply rooted in self-knowledge.
What I find so compelling about this question is how it pulls together threads from everywhere.
It's not just one tradition saying this.
No. We've got Christian principles like the commandments, Stoicism from Aurelius, Eastern strategy from Sun Tzu, modern psychology from Sinek, Green.
The Quetemix.
And that convergence isn't random. It suggests that people across time and cultures asking these same deep questions, identity, character, purpose, keep arriving at similar underlying insights.
A kind of universal human wisdom.
Let's look at some specifics. Marcus Aurelius, with his focus on the present moment, accepting what is. How does that echo the idea of the Sabbath?
That's interesting. Both involve stepping outside the constant drive, right?
Yeah.
The Stoic accepts the present to find freedom from anxiety. The Sabbath involves stepping out of productivity to be present to life, to rest, to connect spiritually.
Both cultivate a relationship with time that's beyond just getting things done, connecting to something more enduring through presence.
A mindful pause, a different way of being in time.
And honor thy father and thy mother. How does that connect more broadly?
Beyond just family, it speaks to recognizing our interdependence, right? Our place in a community, in a lineage.
We don't exist in a vacuum.
Exactly. We're part of a network of relationships, obligations. We build on what came before. We owe something to what comes after. Authenticity isn't isolation. It's expressed in connection.
Knowing your place in the bigger story.
And seeing this convergence across Stoicism, Judeo-Christian thought, Eastern wisdom, it really validates this whole search for an authentic life, doesn't it?
It suggests these aren't just arbitrary ideas.
No, they seem to be universal principles for human flourishing, built on timeless ground, not shifting sand. It offers assurance that this framework we're exploring is solid.
Okay, understanding is one thing, but the real work is living it. Practical wisdom, applying these principles day to day.
Moving from insight to action, yes.
So how do you apply Tolstoy's self-inquiry? Practically.
It's an ongoing practice, not a one-off. Maybe take 5 minutes each morning or before bed. Ask, who am I really beyond today's roles, feelings, thoughts?
Consciously strip away the job title, the mood.
Notice what remains.
Yeah.
That quiet observer. Journaling helps immensely. Or just quiet reflection, mindful moments, watching thoughts pass.
The more you practice, the clearer that core becomes.
Exactly. And the character diagnostic, how to use that.
When facing a tough choice, pause. Ask, what would I do if I had nothing to lose? No reputation, no money on the line.
Your most authentic response.
Then ask, what would I do if I had everything I wanted? Total security, success.
And the gap between those two answers.
That gap shows where your character might be compromised by fear or desire or external pressure. It reveals where you need to strengthen your authentic alignment.
Powerful self-assessment tool.
And in leadership, applying Sinek.
It means genuinely caring. Taking time to understand people's goals, challenges, dreams. Making decisions that serve their long-term growth, not just short-term targets.
Creating an environment where they can be authentic, too.
Yes. Psychological safety, where unique talents and perspectives are welcomed, not forced into a mold. Authentic leaders foster authenticity.
And finally, applying this social dynamics insights.
Shift focus. Stop trying to appear interesting. Focus on becoming genuinely interesting and valuable. Develop real skills you care about. Cultivate deep, genuine relationships. Pursue meaningful projects aligned with your core self, your why.
And the aura comes naturally from that.
It emerges from that authentic development. Being, not performing. That's sustainably magnetic.
These aren't just big ideas then, they're blueprints for daily choices.
Incremental choices, brick by brick. Each small, conscious decision builds and refines that architecture of your authentic life. It's a continuous unfolding.
Which leads us to the ultimate point, doesn't it? The culmination. Discovering your purpose. Your why.
The capstone of the architecture.
Mark Twain nailed it. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why.
Finding that why. It's not just about feeling good, is it?
No. It's about discovering how to express that essential nature, that core self, meaningfully in the world. It gives direction, coherence.
But it's important to say, this why doesn't usually arrive like a lightning bolt.
No. How then?
It tends to emerge gradually. Through the process of living authentically. As you get comfortable with your core self, build character, engage genuinely, you start seeing how your unique gifts can contribute.
So it unfolds from within.
Yes, often subtly. A blossoming that comes from becoming more truly yourself.
And that connects to another quote. Your greatness is not what you have, it's what you give.
Directly. True greatness, real impact, flows from expressing your deepest self in service.
It doesn't have to be grand gestures either.
Not at all. It can be conscious leadership, creativity, teaching, caregiving, building something useful. The form matters less than the authentic giving from your core.
But there's a big hurdle, right? Norman Vincent Peale pointed it out. The trouble with most of us is that we would rather be ruined by criticism than saved by praise.
Oof, that hits home. We let fear of criticism stop us, or we dismiss praise. It's a strange trap.
So how does operating from that essential identity help here?
When you're grounded in your core, not your fragile ego, you can handle both. Criticism becomes data, information to learn from, not a personal attack that destroys your worth.
And prayer.
It becomes encouragement, confirmation maybe, not something your self-worth desperately depends on. You're not knocked off balance by either.
That freedom from external validation.
It's a hallmark of authentic purpose.
Yeah.
It lets you stay true to your why, your path, regardless of applause or attack. You become your own steady compass.
So wrapping this up, we can really see the architecture now. Foundation of self-understanding, that unchanging core.
Structured by principles of character patience, attitude, moment-by-moment choices, those timeless guardrails.
And directed toward expressing purpose, finding your why, knowing greatness is in giving.
But crucially, remembering it's an ongoing journey, not a destination. It's about authenticity, not perfection. Becoming more you.
Every day, every choice.
Exactly.
And honestly, in a world crying out for genuine leadership, real connection, meaningful work, this kind of self-understanding isn't just nice to have, it feels necessary.
It feels desperately needed. It can transform lives, communities.
So as we leave you to think about all this, here's a final question. Given that your essential nature, your soul, is unchanging, what one small thing could you do today?
Just one small action.
To express that unchanging core a little more fully, right here, right now, in this world that's always pulling you away from it.
Think of it as an invitation, not a task. An invitation to continue your own deep dive into the amazing architecture of your authentic life.
Building it with intention
and integrity.